We're live. Welcome back, everybody. Back again. Another exciting day in Hexago. Another exciting day in Maximus. You know what it is. Here wearing my lucky hat. But no bias. I have no bias over what my favorite perpetual is, despite my lucky hat. It says, I'll live lucky on the side. So I want all of you to live lucky. That's what we're here for. So today, we're going to keep pushing the ball forward on Poly Maximus. Yesterday, we made a lot of progress in finalizing the contract. So today, we're going to be working on the front-end Dapp that'll let us test it and let us kind of understand the dynamics and then make sure that everything is working how it should be. So that's always my favorite part of the whole process, is getting to the front-end Dapp part. Because every time I do that, I learn like some new technique that really improves from the last ones. And so with the front end apps on the pools, that was basically just like a copy of Maxi. And then with Team, the minting of Team was like a copy of Maxi, but then the staking of Team was like a whole different thing. And so this one, it's going to be a lot like the Maxi minting, but we're going to be doing whole new design, whole new everything, just like a new consolidated Dapp, taking everything that I've learned from Maxi, the perpetuals, and Team, and then also what we're going to be building is something called the recommendation box, which is a front end interface for a type of like offline and like off-chain voting and surfacing of high quality HSIs and surfacing of information for the executor. We will give the executor something called the recommendation box. And so what that is just, consolidated collection of all of the ideas around bid strategy and targets for good auctions that the poly holders actually submit. So by owning poly, you can sign messages off chain. So zero gas. It's like zero gas voting, where you can sign a message to indicate that you think that one particular HSI is going to be a good target, what type of price range you might do, and then maybe some guidance on what you would do if there was like a bidding strategy, like just how high would you bid, and maybe are there backups that are similar that you might want to also have. So we're going to be opening up this really flexible offline, off-chain bidding strategy recommendation engine that poly holders will be able to participate in. So we think that can be a really cool model of DAO governance, where there's an executor who, at their discretion takes in, acts on behalf of the DAO for one particular use case. In this case, it's bid execution. And then where the executor is also given this other information to just kind of crowdsource that knowledge, but not be stuck to the crowdsourced knowledge. So ideally, the executor uses a combination of the information presented by the poly holders through the recommendation box, and just like their own discretion, real-time judgment, because these bids are, it's going to heat up right at the last 5 minutes of all these bids. So definitely requires some discretion, perhaps requires the executor to write software to enable them to perform better. But then also having the information surface through the recommendation box from all poly holders who have skin in the game. We think this is like a really nice balance of, really like leaning into people's knowledge, but also not telegraphing anything with bidding strategy or making it such that just the largest poly holders can game the vote and game the strategy. So we think this is an important separation of power, to kind of have this independent executor. But certainly, if I was the executor, I would absolutely want to get a sense of, other people's strategy, especially people with skin in the game. Because if you have skin in the game, like if you have a bunch of poly then perhaps your strategy that you put forth is going to be a little bit more insightful than the strategy of someone who barely has any poly. So I think this is going to be a really effective way to surface information to the executor, and then also this will give us like an opportunity to kind of expand our the feature set in our products, where typically all of our products have just been like a one-time mint and one-time action. But in this case, we're doing something where there's like a off-chain interaction that the poly holders can do. So learning some new techniques there, and I think it's gonna be pretty important. Let's see what's up in the chat. Fog Rider says, what's up? Hope you're doing good. Always, man. Thanks for being here. Evening DC. I have a question about poly distribution of Hex, Hedger, and Icosa. Busy boy, big time. When the HSIs are purchased by Poly and the HSI ends, are those coins gains by the HSI distributed to Poly coins or Poly coin holders? No, so all the redemption will happen all at once. So basically the last, it's going to end up with a handful of HSIs. The contract is going to calculate what the last HSI stake end day is, and that is the day when all the redemption happens. So there are HSIs that end beforehand. Depending on how long before the last one ends, it'll either just restake everything, so restake the Hex until the end and restake the head, or really it's adding capital to the existing Hedron stake. It depends on when the timing of it is, but early ending stakes will get rolled forward till the last one, and then as soon as that last one hits, then everything is redeemable. Polyholder coins gain during the time they held the coins, or those funds only at the end of Poly. Yeah, so it's just like Maxi. If you have the Maxi at the end of the Maxi stake, you get the Hex and Hedron. If you have Poly at the end of the last HSI held by Poly, you get the, what's it called? You get the Hedron, Icosa, and Hex from the HSIs and the Hedron stake. So let's just get into it. So I do got to go somewhere a little bit. So last night after I got off stream, I did a couple things. One, I built something that I've been meaning to build for all the dApps. It's just like a MetaMask, just basically like if I want to add a MetaMask connection to any of my Anvil apps, instead of having to like write it all for each app, I just have this one that I can just literally drag and drop. It's like saved as a component here. So I can literally just MetaMask connection. I can literally, like any dApp that I need to add MetaMask to, I just drag and drop it. It just works. So I did that last night, so I'm pretty happy about that. And then now what I'm doing is something else I'm trying to improve on the front ends is just how the system calls the functions from all the contracts. So what I'm doing now is just making it so that, like, instead of having to like hard code each contract call, I can do it a little bit more systematically. And also the way that I had the prior, like on the like perpetuals and on the team site, they interact with a handful of contracts between the Hex contract, the Maxi contract, the team contract. And so the way that I had the way that I like rendered the contract object that the website uses to sign with MetaMask and broadcast transactions, the way I did that prior was always kind of scattered. And so what I did just to kind of set up is I'm creating this thing called the contract router. And what the contract router does is like when I want to get the contract, so I can like make function calls like get current day or get liquidation or whatever. All I have to do is just from any of my other forms, say get contract of whichever the name of contract that I want, and then I have the contract instead of having to like have the address and the ABI and this whole function on every single page. I just consolidated this into one. So that's what I was doing yesterday. And then so what I have here is just from each contract ABI, I can just have like all these functions just automatically pulled in here. And then when I want to use them, then I can just call these functions, and then it'll just work. So yeah, that's the kind of what I've been doing as of yesterday. And so right now what we want to do is we want to just like start testing these functions and make sure everything's working as we expect it to. And then also see like what types of, so that's, we know that we need to, that for ones where it's a big number, that's working. Dave says you're probably going to change people's lives. Hopefully. Hopefully. What's up, Yusuf? Okay, so maybe there's just nothing on testnet. Is that what this means? None of these are returning anything. That is. Nothing. Liquidation list. Let's see. Nice. Nice. Okay. This work. Crypto Fanatic asks, does it make sense to pay a gas fee to mint Zen? I mean, it's your choice. I think it's kind of it's something where you have a major disadvantage. You're just like a regular person. But, you know, it's always fun to do shit. So feel free. But don't expect any type of massive performance from it. Actually, wait until, okay, here's how you should do the Zen minting. You should wait until the bidding happens, and then right after the executor puts forth a bid, you should just flood the network with Zen mints to prevent other people from bidding in the contracts. I love this Catcher's Energy. Thank you. What's up, people? Yeah, snacks or bots, mint as much as they want. Yeah, I mean, the people that have the major advantage are actually the exchanges, because think about it. They already have infrastructure to manage tons of addresses, right? Like when you're doing, like when you go and make an exchange account, all your addresses are really part of it. Like there's probably a handful of private keys, that produced all of the user deposit addresses. And then they have software that manages those. It's like they already have the infrastructure to manage millions of addresses at once. And then two, their gas fees are simply like operating expenses, and they typically can pass them on to the end user. So they don't really care if the gas price is going up, because they can kind of make it back by just charging the fee to the user. So the exchanges actually have a major advantage here, and so they can basically get the coins for free and then just like make a market for it, and that's entire profit, because they already have the infrastructure to mint across millions of wallets, and to them they can spread their cost out amongst their users, and so they have a major advantage compared to you as just like a person that's gonna just mint, and they're the ones selling it too. So it's like they can get more than you can, and they have the platform that they're selling it for other valuable assets. So they really win in this case, so good for them. Someone's got to win. Good to see your beats making on things. Thank you. I'm Poly all in. Poly Funk. Max's team keeps getting better and better with the contracts. It's certainly there's less contracts. Yeah. But, cool stuff you got going on here. See if there's any new bids going on. No new bids. Where do we treat these guys? Okay, so I need to go do something real quick. So in the meantime, why don't we just learn about some of the API options? Right here, let's do this. I'll play this because I gotta go. Yeah, so Audit is a kind of like X, but it's where rather than pooling X to stake, we are pooling. And I'm not fair sure for how team can. We have 700 people in team. How can this group be incentivized to grow this thing? So definitely invite a lot of discussion around like team growth with Polly, and then yeah, and then we'll just stay tuned as we like on these live streams. That's like when we're making these like final decisions and talking through the trade offs and build making it what it is. So if you want to join the discussion and you want to give your input, just tune in live on the live streams, and then I definitely invite people to participate. It's really helpful.
Absolutely. That's awesome, man. So before we start the AMA, everyone, all I want to request is a few things. If you like what you're hearing here, please check out the Maximus Dapp website. It's in the description. Please follow Maximus Dapp on Twitter. It's in the description. Please join the Maximus Dapp Telegram, which I also added in the description if you want to learn more about Maximus as well. Please follow Dipcatcher on Twitter as well so you learn more about the intricacies of what he's doing when he goes live as well. Please subscribe to his YouTube channel as well. Please consider following Hedron on Twitter because of the synergistic relationship, and Hedron's an amazing project. Please consider joining the Hedron Telegram as well. And also, please consider, if you'd like to, following me on Twitter. And also, please consider, excuse me, subscribing to my channel for more content like this. And if you do enjoy this content, please consider sending super chats, as it does help the channel. Please consider donating. That really does help the channel grow. So we have a individual here, Fess Abdul. He gave 50,000 IDR. How will Poly work on ETHW and ETHF?
So the same way that it does on mainnet, because since the ICOSA auction or the ICOSA launch happened before the network forks, there's a bunch of HSIs that the ICOSA extended its advance upon and are now scheduled to go to auction in a month. So there's going to be a bunch of auctions there available. And so if people want to join that, then they can join those. As far as the bid execution, we definitely the priority are the mainnet ones. And so, because that may be a lot to, be bidding on across all those at the same time, but, they will be different. They'll be entirely their own thing because they all have their own dynamics, their own risks, their own, kind of forward, like what's the risk that one of these networks goes away, so the auctions will be pricing and all those things. So that's kind of the only difference, is that just like they'll have their own price structures for these HSIs on these other chains. So, so that's kind of how it'll work.
Okay. And KK Arlzag, I can't pronounce it, I'm sorry. Do you see team being an integral part of Poly?
Yeah, I do, as like a growth engine, where where we can. Look at the success of the perpetual pools. We almost tripled the size of it. We introduced team as like people that are incentivized to grow and promote these pools, and we tripled the size. So I think that team is a really powerful force for that like kind of grassroots onboarding and promotion. And so team is a critical growth force for this.
Okay. And Vets in Crypto asks, will an audit be able to be completed in time?
Yeah. So if I finish it within 3 weeks, which I'm already almost done, I'll probably get the audit started like even before it's even finalized.
Cool.
I have a good auditor that I work with that can get it done. And cool. And it's also simple, and it's basically something they've already audited. And so like all the things that they had told me, when I first got Maxi audited, they gave me some feedback on what to do. And now that's like my starting point. And so there's not a lot of this isn't like a complicated audit. Like the team one was actually the longest audit because it had all these new things. But it's like they've already audited the Maxi contract, they've already audited the pools, and so the Poly contract is basically something they've already audited. So I'm starting at like the part where I know it's secure, and then with these new things, it's like very small component of the whole contract that they have to work through. So yeah, should be. That's the goal. We just got to make it happen. So root me on the live streams.
Daniel Polke says maybe one poly would represent 100 or 1,000 hedron. Is that what would it represent?
So 1-to-1, I like the 1-to-1 because it's easy to just look at a price and then benchmark performance. So instead of having, okay, now I got to divide by 1,000 and all that. So yeah, 1-to-1. We like the 1-to-1 mint because it truly doesn't matter. It's fully arbitrary. Like just whatever that ratio is. Maybe there's some type of like unit bias thing, but it's, it truly doesn't matter what the units are as long as they apply equally to everybody. So 1-to-1, I like that pure launch. So you can kind of treat it like wrapped hedron, and then then you see the value after the fact.
Okay. Sweaty asks, will there be a doubling of minting like Team or exactly like Maxi?
It'll be like Maxi. Yeah.
Okay. Next investor says, does Poly drive any value to team holders?
Yeah. So we're working on like a growth incentive, kind of how like team holders get half of the bigger pays better bonus, and the hedron from the perpetual pools. And so that incentive helped us grow those pools to 810 million hex. Team, we haven't figured out exactly what that incentive structure is going to be, but yeah, we plan to leverage that as a growth mechanism for these.
Okay. Let me see here. A Vets in Crypto question: will there ever be an ultra token team token where holding one will give reflections of all the tokens respectively?
That's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Actually, it's a really good idea. That's a
yeah. As far as what we're definitely focused on just what we're doing right now. But yeah, I mean that's definitely a good idea that we have discussed at length about. So yeah, but assume that everything that's already live is the last thing that ever is live ever. Because that's how everything's built. Like every new rollout can always be the last thing ever. And so you should just kind of expect that, like, all the stuff with like even like the planning for Poly Maximus until it's live, it's purely entertainment. Might as well be fiction. So as soon as things hit mainnet, that's when they become real. And all you can expect is that what already exists is the last thing that'll ever get built. Everything else is for entertainment value only until it's live.
Okay. Hexlove says, is Phantom Network something on Dipcatcher's radar? I heard Corey give info about it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, so not necessarily for like rolling out contracts. I've used it, and I was almost convinced to actually take a position in it, but then I was like, you know what, I'm fine. And then luckily I didn't do that at the time, that because I had a friend literally who was so thrilled about someone who I talked to PulseChain about. He was kind of thrilled about Phantom, like just how fast and cheap it was, and you do all this like. It's like each of these chains kind of had their own like kind of theme.
Their own
like
shtick,
Phantom,
yeah.
like there's like, I think it was Spooky Swap, and there's just like all this stuff, and so like Avalanche had like Snowbank and all these snow themed ones. So I'm very aware of Phantom, and I was looking at stuff in their ecosystem. Kind of as PulseChain is coming around, I made an effort to really learn about some of these other EVM chains that have like similar value proposition as PulseChain. And to kind of see how things were evolving there. So I'm very aware of it. I don't necessarily plan on launching to Phantom, just because it's like I like it when there's like when like the same contract can operate on all of them. But like if
Of
you're
course.
operating on Phantom, it's like you have to basically just bridge over there and then bridge back. So it's not like you can have two independent ones happening at the same time. So
Right.
that's more what I like about the EV, but I'm definitely have learned a lot from some of these other chains that helped inform decisions made around our pooling. And so, yeah, I definitely spend time learning about these other chains, but I don't really have any plans to launch anything on Phantom at this time.
Okay. Um, Hexlove, I don't know if we'd be able to answer this question. How much hedron does the average hedron holder have? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, let's see, the Hedron. Let's just look at their pure holders.
Yeah, maybe you'd be able to do your magic.
So there are 23,000 Hedron holders
Wow,
that
that's a lot.
hold one, two. So that's million, billion, 109 trillion tokens. So what is so 109 trillion? Let's just copy that. Is I can't even count that high. Yeah. 109 trillion divided by 23,053. So that is massively weighted in favor of just the largest holder, which has 44% of the supply. So if we remove the like two largest holders that together contain 67% of the supply. So let's say a third. So the real supply is actually a third of that. So divided by 3. So of the 33 trillion tokens spread out across 23053 users, that is the average has 1.5 billion hedron.
There you go. Okay. Thank you for doing that math.
But probably a better one to look at would be the median, which you'd have to do more analysis on than my little back. All right, guys, I'm back. Because that tells you, because like again. Sorry about that. I had to do some real quick. Let me share my screen again, and then I'm gonna hammer this out because I have about 25 minutes left before I got to go. Excellent. So that's a lot of consideration. When the first bid period ends, will Poly bid again after 3 months when the exercise come at auction? No. So the way it works is that there's a value called last bidding day, and anytime that the executor bids, it basically extends the bidding window by 14 days. As soon as there's a time where no bids are placed in a 14-day period, then all the bidding is done, and then all the leftover. There's a function here called stake leftover hedron. So if the bidding day, if the current day is greater than the bidding day, then all the leftover hedron is good. So there's not like an ongoing bidding thing. As soon as we get them, it's just filled up. For a couple of pennies, you're able to have 10x the average hedron holder. Yeah, especially when the price is low. How does something like a deadline mess with your mind of getting more done? Oh yeah, I mean, when there's a deadline, you just got to make it happen. So that's my helpful. Yep, there's no deep question without answers. You're awesome. From first time I hear visions, love you. Hey, thank you, man. That means a lot. Music could be less loud. Let's turn it down. Thanks a lot, Eddie.
Is your team time at 4:30? It's fine.
All right, guys. I got to go. I'll probably hop on again later. Thanks for joining us. I miss old Maximus wants to do live stuff instead of working on Poly. Yeah, man, it's never too late. Sorry, I just saw I miswrote a few letters, specifications. Maximus ecosystems always even more opportunities, even for the many that missed out on things. Love all their builds here. What a great time. Thanks, man. Well, with that, I will see you all soon. Thanks for joining me today. Had an awesome time. Talk to you later.